I've lived here all my life so far, and I don't plan to move, so I'll probably be here all my life. Well, my parents, my mother was from Bridgewater, Connecticut, and she and her family moved down here, so she moved with the family. And my father lived in Frankfort, Maine, and they met and got married in Winterport. Uh, I don't think so. I don't think there was. I mean, I don't know that because my grandparents never discussed that. Both my grandfathers died very young. I never knew either one of my grandfathers, and I knew both of my grandmothers, but I didn't know them, my grandfathers. So, I don't know a lot of history about why they did what they did. Yeah, I know, I'm assuming it was convenience for my grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side to move into the area. They lived in Winterport for a while and then moved over to Brooks, Maine for a while, yeah.
Wonderful. So, growing up in Winterport, which house did you grow up in, and can you tell us just a little bit about your neighborhood, like the
Okay.
everyday life there?
Well, I lived on the Monroe Road. It's just a short ways from White's Corner. Growing up there, it was an old house. My family was quite poor. I mean, I don't know. We was kind of in the middle range because a lot of families back then were poor compared to what people are today. But we always had plenty of food. We was always warm. We was always dry, and we always had a lot of love in our family. So that was always good. The neighborhood, there was a Grange Hall not far from us. It's not there any longer, but it was there for many years. I got married there, as a matter of fact. That's where we had my wedding reception, was at White's Corners Grange Hall. So, and I was in different organizations, clubs that was developed from the Grange Hall. Yeah. Well, it wasn't like Boy Scouts or anything like that. It was just somebody in the neighborhood decided they might have a Boys and Girls Club that, just to get things moving keep the children in the neighborhood a little more entertained and doing different organizations and things like, not organizations, but different clubs. Because we were so far from town. I mean, where I lived is about 8 miles from the village here in town. So it'd make it difficult back then to get out here to do anything with what was offered here in town as far as organizations, Boy Scouts, so on and so forth. So it was difficult to do that. But, we just basically hung around with the kids in the neighborhood. There was a big family down below us that had more children than we did. So we all developed friendships at different age groups in the friends, and now we spend a lot of time with each other. When I was 9, my brother and I were very close in age. I mean, we're 15 months apart, so we did about everything together. So our next door neighbor had a small dairy farm. We used to help him hay in the summertime. I mean, even at the age of 10, we was haying. And when I got to be 12, 13 years old, my sister married a farmer, and we used to hay for him all summer long. It's just kind of funny because, we'd hay all summer long for my next door neighbor who only had maybe 8 cows, milked, probably didn't produce more than 50 gallons of milk a week. And he'd hay all loose hay. So, of course, at that age, we loved to drive tractors and things like that. So, and we'd work all summer long. We wouldn't make more than $10, but we'd have something to do. And as far as entertainment, we'd go swimming once in a while. We didn't go to any lakes. We went to like Marsh Stream. There was a couple places on Marsh Stream we used to go swimming in the summertime. So that's the type of entertainment that we had. We didn't go to clubs or anything like that. I mean, number one, we couldn't afford to do that. Number two, transportation was always an issue.
Fireman.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed doing that kind of stuff. It kept us busy, kept us occupied, and we made a little money. When I say little, we made very little, but it always kept us occupied. And when I went from there to my brother-in-law's, helping him hay, he'd have bales. And he'd pay my brother and I 1 penny for every bale we put in. Like, we put in 300 bales in a day, we'd make $3. We thought we was rich compared to what we was doing, you know. Well, grammar school, we started out in the first grade. We was underneath the town hall in Winterport. There was 1 grade in there. First grade was there, and then we went from there up to where School Street is. There's 4 grades there. It was just a typical, nothing outstanding or anything. I kind of like school, the things that you remember back then. I mean, some of the things you remember.
Like during your high school days?
Yeah, well, my high school days, I played baseball for 2 years. And in baseball, I was a pitcher and played third base. My brother and I always played catch at home, played baseball. We always played in the fields. So I was fairly good at baseball. And then my senior year, I played basketball, which I never played before in my life, but it was fun. Class of 1964, I graduated with them. So, yeah. I was never good in school as far as grades are concerned. I did a lot of different things in school. I was pretty active with different things in school. As active as I could be, because there again, it was trouble. It wasn't like you was living in town that you could go to all these activities.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
What were some of the things you were active in like high school?
Well, like we'd have a play or a talent show. I'd be active in that. And it was back when the Beatles were really active. So me and I think it was Jim Foley. I think him and I and somebody else went up and did a Beatles song.
Do you remember which song it was?
I don't.
But that's actually really awesome.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah. Well, as an adult, after I got married and things, I was on 3 or 4 town committees. I was on the budget committee, I was on the conservation committee, I was on the planning board in town Winterport. And I did those for quite a few years. I don't do anything with the town now because I feel like I've done my duty, my service to the town through those committees. So he worked at Blaisdell's Orchard for most of his working career. So consequently, I'd work there in the springs when I was old enough to go down and help prune, and I always picked apples. Started out picking drops, and then as I got older, I started picking trees and things like that. And that was always a real good source of income for a high school, or even I started doing that when I was probably 11, 12, picking drops off the ground. They used to pay us 10 cents a box for doing it. There again, that was pretty good money. You could go out in a day, you could pick 20 boxes of drops pretty easy. And I mean, a couple dollars is pretty good money back then for a young 11, 12-year-old person, yeah.
Absolutely.
So we've built 3 new houses, did a lot of the work ourselves, and we've remodeled 2 other houses, 3 other houses. So we've had a pretty busy life, and I still worked every day. Yeah, and we wouldn't be where we are today without a lot of hard work from not just me but my wife also. She worked right beside me every day, so it makes a difference. You need 2 to do things like that. Excuse me. So you know the whole area, Yeah, I used to know all the neighbors. Now I don't know. I probably don't know 20% of them now, but I used to know them all. Like in town in Winterport, I used to know a lot of people here in Winterport. I know very few people in Winterport anymore. Yeah, I think that the schools is what's, excuse me, a binding factor in the community that keeps the kind of community together. I think. Because not everybody, but majority of people have kids in there, and you get to know other people through your children and so on and so forth. So I think when you lose that in town, you lose some stuff. Well, I'm a veteran. I belonged to the American Legion since I was out of the service, which was in 1968. So I've been a member of the American Legion. I've been fairly active in the I was fairly active in the American Legion. Of course, the American Legion now is really struggling here in the town of Winterport because there don't seem to be a lot of young people that wants to be involved anymore. And you got to have young people involved to keep organizations going because old people can't do it anymore. A love letter from the town of Winterport. Well, I don't know. Winterport's always been a great community for me to live in. It's far enough from Bangor so you can have your privacy and things like that. I've always lived in the country. I like the country. I like what it offers you. The activities, I like to hunt, I like to fish, I just like to be outside in the woods. I don't know, other than, I think it's a great place to live. And it always has been for me. Yeah, that's my love letter, I guess. I think I want to say that I think what you're doing is very important. It's good to get people's perspective as to the life in Winterport. So yeah, I think this is great. I want to thank the people that's put this together because it is important to keep the history of communities, and any way you do it is interviewing the people that you are. I mean, I know most of the people you're interviewing. Well, Blueberry Hill, for example. I mean, if you go up to Blueberry Hill and you see all those rocks put around there and the gate and all that was within my realm of time. We developed doing that. We try to get on Blueberry Hill. It was for years there was nobody taking care of the fields, and we finally got somebody to take care of the fields, and we put aside an acre and a half of land up there for the public, the town of Winterport's residents, to be able to go up there and pick blueberries, which, from my understanding right today, you can't no longer do that, which doesn't make me very happy, because I think, for what little they get there, I think that was an important part. I know I always went up and picked blueberries there, and quite frankly, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to continue to do it. Well, I worked for Sherman Clark, who was pretty well known in the town of Winterport. I mean, he sawed there for years. He had an old rotary mill, well known, nice person, as honest as you can imagine anybody being. An example is if he charged per 1,000 to saw lumber, and if it come out that it was $100 and 2 pennies, he'd expect you to pay $100 and $2. But on the other hand, if he owed you $100 and 2 pennies, he'd pay that too. That's just the way he was. He was a kind of a strange guy, but a good guy. I learned a lot from him. Bale it with a baler, and then back when I do it, we'd pick all those bales up in the fields, put it on a trailer, which the trailer would hold probably maybe 200 bales. You'd haul the trailer back to the barn, to the dairy barn, put the hay from the trailer onto what they call a conveyor, which moves the bales up into the barn, and you'd take up there. There'd be 1 or 2 people up in the mow, which was very hot. I mean, it'd be probably 120 degrees up there, and you'd go up there and stack the hay up there in the barn. It was always very hot. Seems so back in the summers always used to be, because I'm very light complected. I remember getting burned all the time, but wearing no shirt. That's why I go to the dermatology 3 times a year now. But it was, it was hard work, but it was good work, and we made a little money.
Do you have a favorite part of that process at all?
I don't know if there's ever, getting paid. Yeah, I mean, no, there again, it's just, I mean, my personality is I like to keep busy. Even way back then, I never minded work. Well, the only really teachers we had, I think it was Mrs. Averill, because I don't know what her first name was. And then there was Sumner Clark, who used to own the golf course out to Winterport, which is Streamside. He owned that golf course. He's probably, in my grammar schools, that's probably all I remember. I don't remember That's a long time ago.